My name is Gage Averill. I'm the Provost and Vice President Academic at University of British Columbia, Vancouver. Every year at Congregation, UBC has the honor of bestowing honorary degrees upon individuals who, in the opinion of the university community, have fit the criteria of excellence and eminence in their chosen field. Setsuko Thurlow is one of those individuals, and I invite her to come forward to receive her honorary degree. Mr. President and Vice Chancellor, Setsuko Thurlow was 13 years old when the United States dropped the atomic bomb on Hiroshima on August 6, 1945. She was less than 2 kilometers from the blast and vividly remembers the aftermath of catastrophe and human suffering at the dawn of the nuclear age. Her experiences formed the basis of her nuclear disarmament advocacy, which began upon her arrival in America in 1954 when she spoke out during an interview about her thoughts on tests of even more powerful hydrogen bombs by the United States in the Marshall Islands. Since then, she's engaged in informing people about the danger of nuclear weapons and has testified widely before world leaders and diplomats about the realities of nuclear war. For the past decade, she has actively campaigned on behalf of ICAN, the international campaign to abolish nuclear weapons. As a leading figure for ICAN, she co-accepted the Nobel Peace Prize in 2017 in recognition of that organization's role in the United Nations adoption of the Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons. She is a graduate of Hiroshima Yogakuin University in Japan, the University of Lynchburg in the US, and the University of Toronto. She practiced for decades as a social worker in a number of agencies, including the Toronto Board of Education, culminating in the founding of the Japanese Family Services of Metropolitan Toronto in 1989. Her many distinctions include her induction as a member of the Order of Canada, Peace Ambassador for the City of Hiroshima, commendation by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Government of Japan, the Ahmadiyya Muslim Peace Prize, the Nuclear Age Peace Founders Distinguished Peace Leadership Award, and the Arms Control Association's Person of the Year. An extraordinary number of commendations and an extraordinary individual. Mr. President and Vice Chancellor, in recognition of her profound influence for peace and a lifetime of humanitarian service, I ask you to confer the degree Doctor of Laws, honoris causa, upon Setsuko Thurlow.
By authority of the Senate of the University of British Columbia, I confer upon you, Setsuko Thurlow, the title and degree, Doctor of Laws, honoris causa.
It gives me great pleasure to now ask Dr. Thurlow to say a few words.
Thank you for the kind words of introduction, citation. As a parent of two sons who are fortunate enough to do graduate work here at the University of British Columbia, both of whom benefited from the warm and welcoming university community and fell in love with the beautiful province. This place has a special place in my heart. But I never dreamt of receiving such honor as this, which I accept in a spirit not of personal, but of collective pride in the tireless efforts of so many activists around the world to work for the abolition of nuclear weapons. You have also given me this privilege to be with the graduating class of 2023. First of all, I congratulate you on this great day of achievement. Your hearts, I hope, are filled with joy and pride, with gratitude to your families for their support, and to your professors for the knowledge and wisdom they have imparted to you. And yet, you may feel a sense of uncertainty as well as you begin a new chapter of your life's journey with yourself as your own guide. 69 years ago, as I graduated from a university in Hiroshima, Japan, I shared your sense of excitement. But never did I dream that I would be fortunate enough to study at the American and Canadian universities, and then become a citizen of Canada, where I have raised a family, practiced social work, and as a hibakusha, the survivor of atomic bombings, devoted most of my adult life to advocate for a nuclear weapon-free world. Like many other survivors of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, I believe it is a moral duty to ceaselessly warn the world about the inhumanity, immorality, and illegality of these weapons of genocidal mass destruction. When I was 13 years old, I witnessed my beloved hometown of Hiroshima seared by a flash of blinding light, flattened by the most powerful shock wave ever seen on Earth, incinerated by the heat reaching 4,000 degrees Celsius, and contaminated by the radiation of a single atomic bomb. A bright summer morning turned to dark twilight, with smoke and dust rising in the mushroom cloud. The dead everywhere, the injured everywhere, begging desperately for water, receiving no medical care at all, hospital vaporized or destroyed, most doctors and nurses killed. I saw processions of ghostly figures shuffling slowly. beings who used to be human, hideously burned, blackened, and swollen, skin and flesh hanging from their bones. Many were blinded. Some carried their own eyeballs in their hands. Miraculously, I was rescued from a collapsed building where my classmates were burned alive. A hand touched my shoulder, and the man's voice urged me, "Don't give up. Keep moving, keep kicking. I am trying to free you. See the light coming through the opening. Crawl toward it quickly." I did, but when I emerged, it was into spreading fire and foul stench of burned flesh. Of a population of 360,000, largely non-combatant, women, children, and elderly, 70,000 died that day, additional 70,000 more in the following 6 months. And still, 78 years later, the delayed effects of radiation from the bomb are claiming new victims. Today, there are nearly 13,000 nuclear weapons in the world, most of them far more powerful than the one dropped on Hiroshima. Studies have shown that a tiny fraction of these arsenals, 1% or less, used in war could trigger major climate change for years, with soot from the firestorm blocking sunlight and causing famine. Nor have nuclear weapons kept the peace. Rather, they have only emboldened countries like the United States and Russia repeatedly attack and coerce others. Einstein said, "The splitting of the atom has changed everything except our way of thinking. Thus, we drift toward unparalleled catastrophe." But not everyone is drifting, because there is a bright new light for peace. The United Nations Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons, TPNW, adopted in July 2017 by 122 nations, 2/3 of the United Nations. The treaty comprehensively bans nuclear weapons and all nuclear weapon-related activities. It stigmatizes the bomb as abomination, illegal, immoral in equal measures. It opens clear pathway to global zero, and it seeks to provide assistance for victims of nuclear violence and environmental remediation for regions scarred by over 2,000 nuclear weapon tests, mostly on indigenous lands. This treaty on the prohibition of nuclear weapons was the culmination of the decade-long collaboration among non-nuclear weapon states, international organizations, and the international campaign to abolish nuclear weapons, ICAN, which is made up of 652 non-governmental organizations in 101 nations. In 2017, ICAN was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize. And at the award ceremony in Oslo, I asked everyone to feel the presence of all those who perished in the bombings and work to ensure that their deaths were not in vain. That may depend on whether we can persuade those states outside the TPNW, including Canada, to join. As a member of NATO, Canada claims the right to base its defense on the threatened use, including first use, of nuclear weapons. Not many Canadians know this, but this country participates in NATO's nuclear planning group, which, as its name suggests, reviews and updates detailed nuclear war plans. And Canada regularly participates in nuclear war games, exercises, and drills. Yet, in 2021, polling showed that 74% of Canadians were in favor of Canada signing and ratifying the TPNW. And there are similar majorities in favor of the treaty in other NATO nations. The people want the ban, not the bomb. But more people need to speak out louder, work harder for the peace, compassion, and cooperation they crave. And this is where you come in. As you move into the world, a world so cruelly torn by war and hate, as we see so unbearably in Israel, Gaza, in Ukraine. Your critical thinking, compassion, commitment to peace and justice will be desperately needed. You have great abilities, but you also have great responsibilities. I wish you every success, and I congratulate you again on your achievement.